What's going on, y'all? It's J Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video, man. Bringing you guys a Hall of Fame video, which it has been a minute since I've done one of these, and I'll explain for those that haven't seen the series, what it's all about here in a second. But just wanted to say, pretty quiet weekend that went by in Battle Rap. I had another 4-day break here in the channel, which for those that are regulars, I like to keep you guys with as much content as I can, no matter what we're talking about, as long as it's about battle rap and raps for the most part. But post Bars Over Politics getting announced, I feel like this is like the quiet before the storm. That was early last week, and now with that and Power Moves back to back, it's like you've had this breath before there's going to be tons of content. Predictions, final predictions, I should say, coming out for the Power Moves card very soon. So all types of content on the way. But I saw that Geechi Gotti did just appear on Funk Flex. Congratulations to him. Good freestyle up there. And I've done a Hall of Fame video for Hitman Holla before. It wasn't with the intentions of this battle coming up, right? But a lot of people like that, and I feel like it does a good job shedding the light in these battlers. And that's what this series is about, is it does say Hall of Fame ? Which with the name Geechi Gotti, you're like, how could you even question that? But a big part of this is reviewing that case potentially for a Hall of Fame, right? We're going to talk about the style, how they rap, or how Geechi raps in this case, what his strengths are. Then we're going to talk key battles. We're going to talk key wins, classics, debatables, right? What are the standout battles that have built his legendary career? We're also going to talk about some key L's, as every battler has, but for those that aren't the biggest fans, right? I don't think anyone will question if Geechi Gotti's a Hall of Famer, but for the sake of argument here, what battles go against his case or have left any stains on his legacy? And then lastly, we'll talk a bit of accolades, which are more objective, appearances on events, YouTube numbers, actual statistics they put up and things like that. So bear with me here. I know asking if Geechi is a Hall of Famer can be funny for some of you guys, but really we're here to appreciate what his career has been, and we're going to start with the style portion of that. So when we're describing the style of Geechi Gotti, it is nowhere near as simple as your regular categorizing of battlers, right? He's not just a puncher or just a performer, angler. He encompasses so many of these things. He's definitely an all-around talent, and someone that I've always thought he was extremely similar to the point I wouldn't say I've given him a nickname. I've heard people say it before. I know a lot of people have heard it from me, but I do think Geechi is the closest thing we've gotten to Charlie Clips since Charlie Clips, which is why I've called him West Coast Clips on a few different occasions, and that's for better or for worse. We'll talk about the for worse part a little bit later, but in terms of the similarities, I mean, he has that natural entertainer factor that I think Clips has. Like I said, his angling, which got better as his career went on, it really wasn't there in the beginning, and now he's one of the best anglers in the game. Obviously, big stage, small stage, Geechi can control any type of crowd, and that's because he has that elite crowd control, that rebuttal freestyle factor, like Clips, which at times maybe leads to some mistakes and some lacks in effort. And like I said, natural entertainer. He just knows how to move people. And that's how I feel about Clips. You can't categorize him either. He's just very good, and depending on the matchup, he can be good at damn near anything. But if there is that separating factor that I think makes Geechi a little more individualized, and maybe to the base of his style, when he was coming up in 2017, and he was making his first impression on the culture, there was two things people knew Gotti for. Real talk, street talk, right? However you want to refer to it as, those soulful third rounds, and punching. And he's not exactly a pen, I'd say, and I'd even say maybe the quality or complexity of the bars has definitely went down as the years went on. He is more on that simplistic side, but especially, 2017, 2018, even a little bit into 2019 and 2020, I thought he punched a shit ton all the way up until his thirds, which, I mean, Geechi Gotti thirds is now just a signature thing in this culture, right? And that's where you also get those other intangible factors like believability, like relatability, like substance, which I think is something he's always at different times had over 3 rounds, but specifically those thirds, we know that's what they're all based on. So when I'm looking at Geechi's style, all around is like the general quick term, but he's going to use a lot of real talk. He's going to be, specifically nowadays, a lot more surgical with the angles. And now I'd say he's more of a volume puncher than a quality puncher, but he throws a lot of punches out there. I feel like those are the 3 main parts. But now, at some point you can name it all, because as the years went on, he's used way more of the rebuttals. There's even a straight disrespect aspect, which I don't think I've seen it used almost as properly as he does it since, like, Prime Arse. It doesn't even have to be angles sometimes. I mean, he really just goes in there and belittles people without much wordplay or anything. I guess it would kind of fall into angling, but it's a bit surgical. He did it to a KCJ. He did it to DNA when he called him Gary. It's not really topic-based. It's not punching. It's just finding a way to win rap battles, by any means necessary. So style-wise, it's kind of like a mixed bag. I'm sure if you ask 10 different people, they'd give you 10 different descriptions. But while he is all around, I feel like he is... It just goes to show how crazy it is that he is this all around, because when he started out, it was the real talk and the punches, and really everything else came after that, which leads to such a unique style where, even though, like I said, he is similar to Clips in a lot of ways, he is still by far, absolutely his own man battle rap wise with the way that he raps, and that level of uniqueness is why he becomes such a polarizing talent. And now to get into the key battles portion, which for Geechi, I think it's a kind of one of the more difficult ones to do with just the volume that he has. I mean, the guy had one of, if not the fastest rises in battle rap history, where he ended up averaging a battle a month for like 4 years. And we know that pretty much from like 2017, 2018 to, you could even go to 2022, but even just to 2020, he really battled like 85 to 90% of what the game had to offer. So many top tier opponents. And I think that there's more clear wins in there than some people give credit for. He did have a ton of debatables, more debatables than anything else, as most top tiers do if you really break down the careers. But I think a lot of people are like, oh, he ends up not getting clear wins. He just has good fights with them. There's some truth, but it's not all the way true. You know what I mean? That's how it feels in my opinion. So with all that volume, it made it tough to pick, but this is my list. If you see it around here, you can pause if you want to take a more extensive look at it. But these are the battles I think best end up like adding to his legacy. So you have the Loaded Lux win in 2021, which pretty much locked up Cody for him in 2021. Humongous win and one of the clearest that Lux has ever taken. The most recent of the battles, but still a huge one, was the win over Easy the Block Captain on Chrome 23, not that far outside of Philly, happened in South Jersey, right? And he'll go down as the guy to give... some people said there was some debatables in that Easy run, but he was the first definitive clear loss that ended, that initial pretty much 3-year run of Easy the Block Captain. Geechi Gotti versus Surf, which Gnome 9, and a lot of people do not have him winning the battle. I bet most of you don't have him winning it. And while, I might think it's more debatable than most do, it's still an all-time classic, probably the best all-time classic, whether you have him winning or losing in Geechi's career, so that was huge. And then you have a litany of battles here. JC, which is a battle I thought he pretty clearly won 2-1, probably one of his better bar-for-bar performances. Geechi Gotti versus Av on Traffic 3, the best battle on the best traffic. Geechi and Av is one of the few battles I would also call a classic, which I'm pretty scarce with using the word. I think it's got to be 6 rounds of greatness, a real fight. And I think with the Surf and Av battles, you get that. Battle Rum Nitty twice. I personally have him as 1-1. I thought he pretty clearly won the first time when they had to battle outside of London because they couldn't get to London. Still a great battle. And then the second time I had Nitty winning, but some would debate that I don't really count the judge votes because they weren't used to split the money, but he did win the judge vote. The judges would have voted for him. You have the New Jersey Twerk win, first caffeine headliner, just washed him. Twerk didn't even choke in that battle. And then you have his first win on SM where he smoked Body Bag Shotgun Shug. So more than a few wins in there, you know what I'm saying? And then Geechi Gotti versus K-Shine, which similar to the Lux battle, I feel like that was a huge reason, pretty much the battle that ended up winning him Cody back in 2018. It's not as clear as the Lux win. There's still people out there that argue for Shine. And while Shine was gassed in that battle, I think he was still great, and you can't help what your homies do for the most part. So it's a debatable battle. One that I've always edged Gotti, though. So I think those are the key ones. Shine and Lux related pretty much directly to Cody implications. You got the Easy battle, which, he stopped the guy dead in his tracks. Twerk, these are superstars that he stopped at a time that they were the superest of stars. And then you still have a bunch of good wars here with a lot of guys he ended up being EFB with, right? Av, JC, Rum Nitty, and there's tons of more debatables in there. I didn't even talk about the John battle, which you could count against him. You could count for him. The chess battle, which you could count against him, you could count for him. Obviously, that was really good. But I feel like if you ask me what is the work that really made Geechi's career what it is, it was a ton of it, so technically it would be more than this, but to me, these are those peak highlights that stand out and describe his greatness the best. And now that we looked at the key battles, right, which is W's, classics, or at least really good debatable fights, right, we have to look at the inverse as well, and that's why I have my little key L's list too, which you notice is a bit shorter. Listen, he's got a super debatable catalog. I know some people might even throw Geechi versus Surf in the clear L's, right? I don't have Geechi versus Rock on either side, but you could debate as good as that first is for his career. here that he went and lost the last 2 rounds clear. So, these are just the ones for me that like actually stung. Like he definitely is more lost than this, but these are the ones that did the most damage to his brand at the time. And as you see, Murda Mook, that one's pretty self-explanatory. Mook danced all over him, and I know some people say, he was gassed. It was Mook at home, and he wasn't that good bar for bar. Definitely not the greatest Mook bar for bar performance, but it didn't have to be. Plus, Geechi was stumbling all over the place. Out of all of like the big time plates Geechi got to, like the loaded Luxes, Sunov, Hitman, Hala, how he performed versus other legends like Verb, Goods, etc. He was the stumbliest versus Mook. I mean, I don't want to say he mailed it in. He just didn't have a good day in the office. Mook ran all over him in New York. Arsenal, which it's a funny one because I give Ars so much critique for his record versus top tiers, but he gave one of his best performances to Geechi in a year that Geechi went on to win Champion of the Year. He went on to win in 2019, and he wasn't bad versus Ars. He's good for 3 rounds, but Ars is great, and I feel like this is one of those battles that even though Geechi was good, there's a very good, if not a clear, not much of a debate, a clear result, where Ars definitely won, but might have won all 3 rounds. And then you have battles like A Ward, and I put 2 times because I know a lot of people give Ward that second battle. It's clearly more debatable than the first, but Ward smoked the shit out of him in the first battle. It wasn't a huge battle, and at the time, Ward wasn't a top-tier name even, right? So he ended up battling him in Kansas City kind of side mission mode, and Ward just smoked him, and now that Ward has aged to end up being a star in his own right, it's one of those L's that if Ward never blew up, maybe it wouldn't have meant much of nothing, but especially with him being great, and then the rematch, it's definitely an L that stuck with him for a bit. People mention Ward versus Gotti if we talk Gotti L's. And then the True Foe battle, which is just straight up one of the biggest upsets ever, judge battle, UM5, and it's a great example of you can get caught on any given day, especially if you're a volume battler. You see it more with Tay-Rocks, Nitties, and Geechis. If you look at it, they've battled everyone, and they probably have some of the best track records versus some of the best and the best, and all 3 of them have at least taken 1 L to a mid-tier name or less just because they battle a lot, and you're like, yeah, what the fuck was that? You know what I'm saying? I feel like the True Foe battle, especially streamed, being a part of a tournament and him being a co-winner or winner of a tournament before, it shocked a ton of people. So when you talk about the losses for me that stand out for Gotti, I think of Mook, I think of Ars, I think of some of the fights with Ward, and the True Foe battle to a lesser extent. And that, by no means it means that's the end of the L list because, as I said, I'd mentioned earlier, but the similarities between him and Clips, while they've had great similarities that end up being 2 of the most all-around entertaining battlers of all time, similar to Clips, there's been just stretches of time that Geechi does not care that much about some of the product he's putting out there. It'll be stumbly, it'll be super freestyle, key, laughing between the bars heavy, and that obviously is also a big part of the volume, and just a lack of motivation after you've been great for so long, or, you win so many awards, you've won big battles, and they tell you how great you've been. It gets the battler's head a little bit, and you've seen battles where Gotti just takes off. You've seen a few this year, the Loso battle, the Fonz battle, and it got to the point that it's become more synonymous with his name in the last 2 or 3 years, similar to the way it became synonymous with Clips' name around 2015, 2016 when the Lux battle happened, the Hollow battle, the Nitty battle. So if anything, there is that downside that unlike some other legends, which all of them have their eras where they're mostly doing great, they all have their downsides, but with Gotti in particular, it's not like he's just rapping bad, it's that Clips type of thing where there's just periods of battles that he's not taking it that serious. But I'm not going to name every L he's taken from not being serious. It's just really cost him in some big moments. I feel like the Mook one more than anything, and a little bit obviously here versus A Ward. But that's it for the losses. And now that we've talked the battles from the good and bad side as well as the style, we have one more section to go over. And for any of the people that believe that Geechi has a real argument for best of all time or super high up in those conversations, the Accolades is definitely the thing you lean on heaviest because he might be the most decorated, you know what I'm saying, from an Accolades standpoint. First of all, 3-time Champion of the Year winner, 2018, 2019, 2021. To get the Battle Rap MVP award, he's the only one to get it multiple times, let alone 3 times, right? And on top of that, I believe, I could be wrong, it's either 4 or 5 times, but I believe maybe he's 5 times in the top 5. So pretty much since 2017 till now, he's very consistently in the best in the world active conversations, right? Having some of the biggest battles. So the Cody list is decorated. Also, league owner of the Riot. The Riot has become a very respectable league that's thrown a bunch of big battles in its own right. Like when you look at the Geechi and A-Ward rematch. Like when you look at something Tay-Rock and A-Ward, some of the other top tier affairs they've had on there. So he's graduated to that league owner mantle, as many of the greats have. 6-time Summer Madness appearances and 6-time Gnome appearances, which is like pretty healthy and standard. It's not up there with some of the all-time level appearances. You get to like 9 or 10 for some battlers, like Rocks on either event, like Cal for SM. But considering Geechi came in later, he pretty much started appearing on them and like never stopped, because he's had a much shorter career than the rest of them. Half, if not even the third, like I said beginning of the video. So for him to have six SMs and 6 Gnomes, he showed up, he just didn't stop appearing on them. And then you get a little bit into the YouTube numbers, right? 41 plus million total views. Pretty standard, top tier amount. 625,000 views per battle, which is healthy. I'd say like maybe your standard or lesser top tier would do about 500K or less. So when you get to 600, 700, you're getting closer and closer to some of the bigger stars in the game. And then 11 platinum battles, 11 million view battles on YouTube. So that's like a very standard Hall of Fame YouTube career, right? It's not the best. There's bigger numbers than that, but 10 plus million view battles, over 40 million views. However, we know that only half of Geechi's career was really in that YouTube dominant era for battle rap. You also have to move over to the app side, right? And I don't think I've ever done app stats in any of these videos, but this guy is one of the most absolute decorated on the URL app, right? So he is number 1 on the URL app and reactions with 4.5 million. So the most interacted with battle-wise, volume does have a lot to do with that. I didn't do the per app battle stats. I'm not going to do all that, right? But just from a holistic standpoint, I mean, he's the highest amount of reactions on an app. That is key, right? It's been the base for URL's footage since 2019. He's also number 3 on the app in W's, not straight up record. There's people that you start doing the math, the percentages, easiest 12-0 on the app, better records, but just pure wins, which is the count they go by. He's number 3 because he's 26-10, but 26 is the third amount of most wins on the URL app. So he's one of the few guys that, even though half of his career is in the YouTube era, like a Twerk or a Nitty, who kind of have that same, similar new era, half app, half YouTube, it's respectable YouTube numbers, and then it's like dominant on the app, right? He's in the top regards for anything you can rank on there. So when you look at it, man, Cody Watt, he's the most decorated when it comes to Cody. He's got a very respectable amount of appearances on big stages. We didn't even talk main events that he's done on Chrome, right? Done over on King of the Dot, so he's moved around a bit. And then whether you look at the YouTube or app numbers, they're dope. You know what I'm saying? That they're up there and further, push what's been a legendary career in the ring as well as on the books when you read the stats back. And as I do at the end of all of these Hall of Fame videos, I then ask, right, is Geechi Gotti a Hall of Famer? The answer is absolutely 1,000% yes. There was really never much of a debate there, although, we review the whole case beforehand. But listen, man, there's no one I think, and I've said this multiple times before, he is a top 5 battle rapper of all time. You can order him within the 5 as you'd like, but no one has taken this pathway and done as much as he's done with it. This volume, back-to-back battling, he did it in the quickest amount of time. He did it versus the most amount, like all the greats in that amount of time. His resume, like I said, top 3. He was dominant through the Cody era. He has the belts to show it. He had and is still having a very healthy YouTube side of it. It's not like some other legends whose pretty much whole career had like a decade, that was purely on YouTube. But he's got very respectable numbers with more to come, because he's going to have the Hitman battle. It's going to add a couple million views, I'm sure, up that per battle average. The Ilmac battles online, and even talk about that in his key wins. That was a clear victory over Ilmac. That'll grow over time. So I'm sure even more will get added to the YouTube numbers. Superstar level impact, superstar level production. It's just, as the years have went on, like I said, the one thing is that, like Eclipse, taking his foot off the gas a little bit as the years went on. But in terms of what you want from a career, the resume, the key victories, getting awarded, for your production. The guy's got everything. And I know some people aren't even going to like the app stats that much. And it's one that you'll rarely see me bring up on here, but particularly with him and Nitty, they're dominant there. And when it comes to reactions and, the record count, the win count, they're both top 3 in each category. So at least if we're going to bring up those stats, they have to be the best of it, right? So this is kind of like my whole synopsis and breakdown of, I guess, the career of Geechi Gotti here, the Hall of Fame career of Geechi Gotti here. And now I want to hear your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. There's a ton to take away from this, but what do you disagree and agree with in the key battles and key L's? Because I know that's where a lot of conversation will come from. But also, where do you view his career in the long run? Do you think that he is a top 5 battle rapper? And we can all look at the highs and say, I mean, he's done so many things people haven't done before. Or do you think kind of the latter years where there's been obviously a lot more inconsistencies and lack of effort, do you think that at all, puts any type of stain on the legacy in a major, major sense? We won't forget it, but we also won't forget all the great that he's done as well. And can't wait to see what him and, I've done a video like this for Hitman, 2 of the most decorated careers doing it in a completely different way. Hitman, the more methodical superstar, pop out rarely, but make the most with it, compared to a Geechi who, even though he was not as efficient, extremely efficient with 4 times the work rate, right? So I guess which career path would you better appreciate as well? But it's been J Smo Reviews again here, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.